headlines start to twist. He's digging through the stories, finding all the things you missed. Talking Super Bowl ads, old films in modern trouble. If the world's too loud, he cuts it down to the subtle. So turn that down, 'cause you know who's talking. Ooh, if there's truth in the static, Tom Gulley, from where you're looking. Ooh, you gotta dial G for Gulley. 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 Dial G for Gulley. You gotta dial G for Gulley. You gotta dial G for Gulley.
Pump by Andy. Tom Gulley's got a mic in his hand. Ooh yeah, talking Bigfoot tracks in the sand. Hole punches, fighters, conspiracies tight. He's podcasting strong, deep into the night. From the man from UNCLE to the Motown scene. He's dropping gems like you never seen. Oh, you know Tom Gulley, he's the podcast king. Say what? Ladies man with a smooth, sweet swing. Bigfoot, spider, and 9/11 schemes. Tom's a man of your wildest dreams. Tom Gulley, he's got charm, got wit, and a silky flow. Oh yeah, talking mysteries only Tom would know. From R&B to the funk so tight, so tight. He's spinning webs like a spider at night. His voice is smooth like a Motown jam. Ooh-wee. You can't help but say that's my man. Oh yeah, Tom Gulley, he's the podcast king. Ladies man with a smooth, sweet swing. Bigfoot, spiders, and 9/11 schemes. Tom's the man of your wildest dreams. Tom Gulley, I'm gonna, Tom Gulley, I'm gonna, Tom Gulley, I'm gonna, Tom Gulley, I'm gonna, when the daylight's fading and the world feels wrong, there's a voice on the airwaves, steady and strong. From the heart of the internet's wild frontier, Tom Gulley's talking, pull up a chair. He's got stories, he's got takes, he's got calls rolling in. From the tales of the weird to the shape of the spin. If you're tired of the noise and the nonsense online, there's a seat in the Gullyverse. Come take your time. The show must go on. The show must go on. With the mic burning bright through the dusk to the dawn. Yeah, whatever goes wrong, the Tom Gulley Show lives on. The show must go on. He's the radio outlaw with a charm so sly. A storyteller's cadence and a wink in his eye. From the ghosts in the attic to the news of the day, Tom breaks it all down in his signature way. He's the king of the ramble, the lord of the yarn. just rolls with it. The show must go on. The show must go on. With the mic burning bright through the dusk to the dawn. Yeah, whatever goes wrong, the Tom Gulley Show lives on. The show must go on. So grab your Dr. Pepper and settle in tight. Tom's firing up the airwaves tonight. Whether chaos or calm, he keeps steering the ship with a quip, a riff, and that gully grip. The show must go on. The show must go on. Through the static and storms, every dusk, every dawn. From the heart of the net to the edge of beyond. The Tom Gulley Show lives on. Yes, the show must go on.
Oh my gosh. Leon Kennedy with another great song. The show must go on. All the songs we played before the start of the show and at the end of the show, Leon Kennedy did those. And yes, he does deserve $2,000 in his PayPal account for doing those. I don't know if you've noticed how much money we make on this show. It's not really all that much, you know what I mean? It's not a lot. Not a lot. I'm wearing a hat tonight because I had a long talk with one of my family members before the show started and didn't have time to jump in the shower. And it was looking all Professor Irwin Corey. By the way, I'd like to point out that those songs actually did play. The audio on them actually did play. And there are some shows out there that play audio with clips and things for an entire show, and it doesn't, get over the airwaves to the listeners. Can you believe that? Shows that the people that run them say they're the best ever. Anyway, let me tell you about the Yuba County Five. It's a case that is mystifying, baffling, even to this day, on several levels. Because first, these 5 young men who all had very mild disabilities or psychiatric conditions, we'll get into that a little bit later, were missing. And then subsequently, 4 of the 5 wind up dead. One of them has never been found to this day. A lot of twists, a lot of turns, a lot to unpack here. Before we do that, please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. Man, it only costs you a click, just a little bam, just a little like, a little something for the effort. We also have super chats. We also have memberships. We have gifted memberships if you want to be Fonzie and look all cool in front of everybody. We have the PayPal, which we love. And, it's where you give the most, I get the most. Google don't get nothing. Nothing. No scratch at all. You know what I mean? And then we also have the TomGulleyShow.com, where there's 250 past podcasts, not the 400 and some live streaming shows we have on the YouTube page, an additional 250 podcasts free for the asking, and our merchandise store and a lot of other things. So there's our commercial. It's all in the begging bar here down at the bottom of the screen, or you can see it all in the description. Also in the description, Leon Kennedy, all those songs that you guys say you like, you can download them for free. It's in the description. Leon Kennedy's made a page for them. Check them out, check them out, check them out. They also include some outstanding artwork. So let's get to a few of your comments before we jump into this. Chris is with us, says Yuba 5. What did you 5 do? Well, there is the mystery. There is the mystery. I mentioned that all the audio that we'll play in the background tonight will be heard by you, the listener. There's another show in the world right now that, man, they'll play a 20-minute clip and comment on it. Only nobody in the audience can hear it. I wouldn't do a show. I'd quit. Leon Kennedy says, I love this case. A lot of people are really drawn to it. There's just so much. Leon Kennedy, who does all those great songs, says, reminder, Tom, one of the guys had an IQ of like 60, and he even had a girlfriend. What are we doing wrong? you will learn as we talk about this case that, yes, these gentlemen had some disabilities, but they weren't so debilitating that they couldn't play basketball together effectively. A few of them were in the military. They were very high functioning, we shall say, for people with these afflictions. Sky is here, says, hey, Tom. Says, hey, Tom. Johnny Brooks is here on time. He is on time, although no one is ever late for the Tom Gulley Show. This much is true that we know. Jared's here with fire. He's brought the fire. James Moore likes the song. Everybody likes the songs. That's the most popular thing about this show is the songs. Sky loves the song. James, after hearing the last song, The Show Must Go On, which they just keep getting better. The first one was incredible, and they get better. If I had to pick a song right now to be the show opening theme song, it would be The Show Must Go On. It's really great. The lyrics are awesome. Leon Kennedy quite rightfully points out the person who made these songs deserves at least $2,000 sent to their PayPal right now. Right now, if there's a philanthropic millionaire watching the show right now, would you do that? Because we can't do it with what we make doing this. This guy says pot awful reference noted. I don't know what that is. Crappy at Life's here, says H2BH. Yes, happy to be here. Judy Tester's here. Is the audio muted for anyone else? I see what you did there. I did it. Did you now? Back in old 1978. Let me tell you about the Yuba County Five. The Yuba County Five were a group of, as I mentioned before, young men from Yuba County, California. And they all had, as I mentioned, mild, I stress here mild, disabilities or psychiatric conditions. They were all reported missing after going to a college basketball game on the night of February 24th, 1978. That date will be very significant. That time of year will be significant. 4 of them, let me just put these guys up on screen real quick here for you. 4 of them, Bill Sterling, who you see second from the right there, 29 years of age. Jack Hewitt, far to the left, 24. Ted Waher, second from the left, 32. And Jack Madruga, there in the bow tie, 30 years old, were later found dead. Gary Mathias, with the extremely unfortunate picture, is the one that has never been found. Okay? We'll get to all the details. There is a lot to unpack here. Now, the individual who's never been found, Gary Mathias here, he was stationed in West Germany as part of his U.S. Army service in the early 70s. He was a resident of Marysville, California, okay, which is in Yuba County and one of 2 cities very close to each other. He had developed some substance abuse issues that eventually led him to being diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he was given a psychiatric discharge. So he returns to his parents' home in Marysville, and he begins treatment at a local hospital. It was difficult for him at first. He was arrested a few times for some not violent crimes, but assaulting people in a way that someone who doesn't understand might do. He had psychiatric episodes that eventually led to him being put in a veterans hospital, right? And by 1978, when this all went down, he was being treated, and he was treated on an outpatient basis and considered, although he was, taking trifluoperazine and benzotropine, but he was considered by the hospital to be a sterling success case. The treatment had actually worked. He had Army disability pay and also worked at his stepfather's gardening business. But off of his work time, he was friends with these other 4 guys here, okay? And they were all close friends. They were all close friends. Wayher and Hewitt, the two on the left, they had intellectual disabilities. They were considered slow learners, okay? And then Sterling and Madruga, he was friends with. Sterling was, a guy with disabilities, but Madruga had also served in the military. They lived in Yuba City and nearby Marysville, as I mentioned, and they all lived with their parents. And their parents collectively referred to these guys as the boys. They ran around together, they did stuff together, so their favorite activity, as a pastime, was sports. And the family said when the five of them got together, it was usually to play a game or to go to a game, and they played basketball together on a team called the Gateway Gators, which was supported by a local program for people with disabilities. Okay? Let's see here. We got a comment I'd like to get to really quickly. Oh my gosh. We got a bunch of comments. Jared would like to know if this is live. It's technically, but not actually. Not live, Jared. So it's like it's on a delay. It's whatever you want it to be. Is that Jesse Ventura? It is not Jesse Ventura. He's so cool. He did it. Now, Leon Kennedy says some people blame the deaths on Gary Matthias because he had schizophrenia, and that's sad. It is, I think, also the reason they're blamed on Gary, or at least certainly at first after what happened became evident to everyone, is that he was not ever found, and to this day has not ever been found. But certainly at the time, if you find that several people have had this tragedy befall them and one of them's not found, suspicion will fall on that person. Now, as to their disappearance. On February the 25th, the Gateway Gators were due to play their first game in a tournament, a week-long tournament sponsored by the Special Olympics, and the winners of this tournament would get a free week in Los Angeles. So it's kind of a big thing. All five of these men had prepared the night before. Some of them laid their uniforms out and asked their parents to wake them up on time. So, they're into it. They're looking forward to it. They decided to drive to Chico, okay, to cheer on the UC Davis basketball team in an away game against Chico State. So they're going to drive to this basketball game. Yes, they could drive. They're competent enough to do that. So Madruga, who was the only member of the group besides Matthias that had a driver's license, he drove the group 50 miles north of Yuba City to the Chico State campus in his turquoise and white 1969 Mercury Montego coupe. Now, this isn't the car. It is the make and model. You can see that it is not turquoise and white. It's just one color. But this is the variety of vehicle that they drove. Okay? They only had light coats on, and that's going to become an issue. It's a time of year that if you go to higher elevations, you're going to be in trouble. All right? So UC Davis wins the basketball game, and the group returns to this car, or one similar to it, and drove from a very short distance from the Chico State campus to a place called Bears Market in downtown Chico, where they bought snacks and sodas and cartons of milk and stuff. They bought a bunch of stuff to eat. It was just before the store closed at 10 p.m. And the clerk later remembered these guys because she was very annoyed that such a large group had come in and delayed her from closing the store down from the night. But morning comes, and none of the men have returned home, which, as you might imagine, is great concern to their parents. And the police are immediately notified by the men's families. I mean, immediately. They did not waste any time whatsoever. These guys look like they would be watching Mill Hip. I don't know anything about Mill Hip, so. Tempted to play a sound clip in the background just to demonstrate how easy it is to get those things to happen. But I'm not going to. So police in Butte and Yuba counties, they start searching along the route the men likely took to get to this basketball game. They found no sign of them. But just a couple days later, a Plumas National Forest ranger tells investigators, hey, I saw a car exactly matching the description that you gave me of this car, parked in the forest along the Oroville-Quincy Road on February 25th. Now, when he passed this car, he didn't think anything of it because a lot of the local residents and even visitors that drive up that road into the Sierra Nevada mountain range on weekends to go cross-country skiing or go on the trails leave their cars parked various places, and not uncommon sight. But after reading the missing persons bulletin, he recognized the car, and so on the 28th, 3 days later, he leads deputies to this car, okay? And inside the car, they find some evidence. And the evidence indicates the men had been in it between the time they were last seen and the time that it was abandoned, okay? There were empty wrappers and containers from the food and drinks they'd gotten from the store. And programs from that actual basketball game they went to were neatly folded along with a map of California. So they may have had a map out. The car's location, though, was 70 miles from Chico, where the basketball game was, and way far away from any direct route to Yuba City or Marysville to get home. None of the families could figure out why they might have driven up a long and winding dirt road on a winter night deep into the remote forest without any extra clothing. They just had light stuff on. They're going to jump in a car. They're going to go to a game. They're going to come back. They don't need heavy gear. Sterling's father, this is Bill Sterling right here, his father said that he'd once taken his son to an area near where the car was found for a fishing weekend, but that Sterling did not enjoy it at all. And when his father would go fishing there in subsequent years, he would go, no, I don't want to go there. I don't like it there. Madruga's parents said he didn't like cold weather, and he had never even been to the mountains. And please keep in mind, it's his car, and he's the one that's driving. So to get him to go up there doesn't seem very logical. Like many things that are coming up here I'm about to tell you about, not logical at all. Police were puzzled by the abandoned car. The road was at 4,400 feet in elevation, and that's where the snow line was at that time of year, okay? And they were just a very short distance from where the road was closed for the winter. It wasn't just shut down from a heavy snow and they'll open it back up again. No, they close it for the winter. Okay, so they're in snow. They're in the remote wilderness. Now, the car was stuck in a snowdrift. And there was evidence of them trying to spin their wheels to get out. You know, that whole thing, for those of you who've been in snow. But that snow wasn't really that deep. And 5 healthy basketball-playing dudes could have easily pushed the car out. Would have been no problem at all. There were no car keys with the car. And that made him think, well, maybe they abandoned it because it wasn't running properly. It wasn't working. But it doesn't make a lot of sense. Why wouldn't you stay with the car for a while? Maybe somebody will come along, but maybe they just decided we'll hit the road and go and get help. But the police hotwired the car, and the engine started immediately, and the fuel gauge had the car, it had a quarter of a tank of gas in it. That's not a lot, but it's enough to drive quite a distance. So the police tow the car back for further investigation, right? They said, we got to take a closer look at this vehicle. The undercarriage of the car had no dents or gouges or even mud scrapes on the muffler. Nothing. And that's despite the fact they'd driven a very long distance up a mountain road, gravel, dirt, with lots of bumps and ruts and potholes, not flat, beautiful tarmac. So that meant the driver was either very careful or someone was familiar with the road. Madruga wasn't that guy. He wasn't familiar with the road. None of these guys were known to be familiar with the road. And the family of Jack Madruga was very adamant that he would never, ever let someone else drive his car. The car was unlocked, and it had a window rolled down when it was found. Madruga's family also said he would never do that. He would never leave his car unlocked with the window down. He was very copious about locking it up, taking care of it. So they decide we need to search the area. Unfortunately, a severe snowstorm hits. Keep in mind, this is in the mountains. This is February. And when I say severe, it was so severe that searchers in snowcats, you guys know what snowcats are, right? They're those things with tank treads on them, kind of, that have a big box on the top, made especially for traveling in heavy snow. Yeah, the searchers in the snowcats, they got lost themselves. So further search efforts were called off due to continuing bad weather. Other than the car, no trace of these guys was found. Just the car. Well, local media gets involved, as they always do. And in response to the coverage, which was quite sensational, as you might imagine, 4 basketball playing guys on a team with some disabilities go to a game and then vanish without a trace, that's a big story. Police start getting reports of some or all of the men being sighted after they left Chico, some of them being elsewhere in California or other places in the country. The vast majority of these were dismissed almost immediately. And not just dismissed quite easily. But here's the deal. 2 of the accounts really stood out. One in particular, it's elaborate. And both of these accounts are from what police called extremely credible witnesses. One was just 150 feet from these guys. And not for 5 minutes, for quite some time. Let me get to a couple more comments here. 50 IQ average. Nobody likes Onions viewer. Oh, is it that high? Sky says they were smoking marijuana. I doubt it. Crappy at life. Also believe they were smoking African-American weed and the 4-eyed mustache man had a schizo meltdown and killed him. Well, you'll see why that is unlikely here in a minute. But nice guess. At least you're thinking. You're trying to figure it out. The other team killed them. Well, they hadn't played any game. Well, maybe you mean the team in their first game the next day? Possible. Astronomically unlikely, but possible. but possible. Yeah. So a guy by the name of Joseph Shawns, who lived in Sacramento, told police he inadvertently wound up spending the night of February 24th and 25th where that Montego, the car, was found. He'd driven up there because he had a cabin up there, and he was going to take a family vacation to the area. So he decided that before that vacation happened, he was going to check the snowpack in advance of the ski trip. He wanted to make sure there was enough snow up there to ski on, make sure he could get to the cabin, all that stuff. Doing some groundwork for the family vacation. About 5:30 that night, about 150 feet up the road, Shawns also got stuck in the snow. And in the process of trying to free his car, of all things, no kidding, he realized he's starting to have early symptoms of a heart attack. I'm not joking. So he goes back into his car and he keeps the engine running to give heat. 6 hours later, he's lying in his car and he's experiencing severe pain, as you do with a heart attack. And he sees headlights coming up behind him. He looks out and he sees a car parked behind him. Headlights on with a group of people around it. And he says, one of whom seemed to be a woman holding a baby. That's what he says. He called out to these people for help. And when he did, they stopped talking and switched their headlights off. Now later, he saw more lights from behind him, this time also with flashlights. He calls out again. All the talking stops. The flashlights go out. After that, he says he recalls a pickup truck parking 20 feet behind him briefly, then continuing on down the road. Now later he tells police, I can't be sure of that. I was delirious from pain. I don't know what I saw. But after his car runs out of fuel in the early morning hours, his pain by this time has subsided enough for him to walk 8 miles down the road to a lodge where a manager drove him home, passing the abandoned Montego at the place from where he had recalled hearing the voices originate. Now, you might think this guy's story sounds crazy, a cock and bull story. Who has a heart attack and knows it in advance, and who lays there and sees all this stuff? Well, doctors later confirmed that he had indeed experienced a mild heart attack. Yes. Now, Wayer's mother, the guy in this photo from this news article, second from the right, his mother said that ignoring someone's pleas for help was not like her son, if he was even there. She recalled how he and Bill Sterling had helped someone they knew get to the hospital after overdosing on Valium. So these were not mean guys. They were very helpful guys. Now, the other sort of notable report was from a woman who worked at a store in the very small town of Brownsville. Now, this town was 30 miles from where the car had been abandoned. And it's on the way. It's on the road. They would have reached it if they had continued down the road. On March 3rd, March 3rd now, keep in mind, that's 10 days after the original disappearance. The woman sees the flyers that have been distributed nearly everywhere in the area and information about a $1,215 reward. And just, can I stop for a second and say, $1,215, kind of a weird amount to me. It's like, did they have $1,200 and some guy goes, I got $15 on me, you can have that. I don't know. That's worth about getting close to $6,000 today. Anyway, the families had put up that reward, and this woman tells deputies that 4 of them had stopped at the store in a red pickup truck the day after the disappearance. And the store owner corroborates her account. The woman says she immediately realized that the men were not from the area because of what she unfortunately termed their big eyes and facial expressions. 2 of the men, who she later identified as Hewitt and Sterling, were in a telephone booth outside the store while the other 2 went inside. The police said she was credible, and they took her account seriously. More details came from that store owner, who told investigators the men, who he thought were Weher and Hewitt, came in and bought burritos, chocolate milk, and soft drinks. Now, Weher's brother later told the LA Times that while driving to Brownsville in a different car, in apparent ignorance of the basketball game, seemed completely out of character for them. It's like they're in a different car and, they're not even aware they have this basketball game to play. It doesn't seem like them at all. And that the owner's description of the 2 men's behavior did seem consistent, as Weher would eat anything he could get his hands on and was often accompanied by Hewitt more than the other 4. Hewitt's brother said that Jack Hewitt hated using telephones, to the point where he would have to answer calls for Jack whenever he received any from the other men in the group. So him being part of the phone detail does not seem within character. Yes. Undefeated. That's right. Leon Kennedy is saying that I'm once again admitting to my crimes. I've never been to Yuba City. I was 15 years old in 1978 and delivering newspapers, by the way, in the February of that year, following the crippling blizzard of 1978. And everyone on my paper route can vouch for my whereabouts. Including Mr. Kripe, the lawyer that I would hand his paper to at 3 or 4 in the morning. He was always up and waiting for the paper. I didn't have to put it in the door. He would come to the door and I would hand him the paper. Yes. Crappy at Life says, I was that baby. Well, if you were, you were. I was 14. A negative 14. Sorry, a negative 14. Well, after all this mystery, all this searching, all the conjecture, and evidence not pointing to any real clear conclusion about what happened the night that these guys disappeared, the police and the families were not ruling out the possibility that they had met with foul play. The dreaded foul play. The eventual discoveries of 4 of the 5 men's bodies seemed to suggest that they had not necessarily met with foul play, but they raised even more questions about what happened that night and whether you would think at least one of them might have been rescued. Months later, okay, like a little over 3 months later, on June 4th, most of the higher elevation snow is melting. A group of motorcyclists went to a trailer that was maintained by the United States Forest Service at a campsite off the road about 19 miles from where the mercury had been found. Now, for those of you that don't know, the U.S. Forest Service maintains structures and dwellings in forests all over that aren't necessarily resided in or used for a ranger's camp or residence. They can be But these are places you can actually rent out some of them. And they are places that if a ranger is on a long trip or whatever else, they can go there and kind of hole up, or they can stay there while they're doing things in the area. This is not an uncommon thing. And those places typically are very functional and well stocked. They're not just, a mini barn in the middle of the wilderness necessarily. Okay. Now, concerning this trailer, the front window of this trailer had been broken. And when investigators opened the door, they were overwhelmed by the smell of a decaying body. Later identified as Weyers. And, just to keep the scorecard clear, that's Ted Weyer, second from the left. That's whose body they actually found in the trailer. Okay? That's who they found there. So, searchers returned to Plumas, following the road between the trailer and where the Montego was abandoned. And the following day, they found remains that were later identified as those of Jack Madruga, right in the center there, and Bill Sterling. And they were discovered on opposite sides of the road, 11 miles from where the car had been. So sort of on the way to that trailer. Madruga's body had been partially, let's say, consumed by scavenging animals. Only bones remained of Sterling, and his were scattered over a small area. Autopsies showed that they both died of hypothermia, exposure to the cold. Deputies think that one of them may have given in to the need to sleep. That's it's a common symptom of hypothermia, while the other stayed by his side and then died the same way. Well, the search continues, and 2 days later, as part of one of the other search parties, as luck or tragedy would have it, Hewitt's father found his son's backbone under a manzanita bush, which is just a small scrub-like bush, 2 miles northeast of the trailer. His shoes and his jeans nearby helped identify the body. The next day, a deputy sheriff found a skull downhill from the bush, 300 feet away, and dental records confirmed that it was Hewitt's. His death also attributed to hypothermia. Around a quarter-mile northeast of the trailer, searchers found 3 Forest Service blankets and a rusted flashlight next to the road. Now, even though it couldn't be determined how long those items have been there, they still had to figure out, where is Gary Mathias? Presumably he hasn't taken his medications, and his photograph was distributed to mental institutions all over California. However, no trace of Gary Mathias has ever been found. None. Now let's talk about that evidence that's in the trailer. Okay. By the way, this is Jim Sterling, and he's being comforted by a friend near the site of where his son Bill was found across the road from Hewitt. Weyer's body, which is the one they found in the trailer, was wrapped in 8 sheets, including his head was wrapped. He was found on a bed inside the trailer. The autopsy showed that he had died of a combination of starvation and hypothermia, and it gets pretty crazy after this. He had lost nearly half of his 200 pounds, and the growth of his beard suggested he had lived slightly more than 3 months from when he had last shaved. His feet were badly frostbitten, gangrenous, in fact. On the table next to the bed were some of his personal effects, his wallet that had cash in it still, a nickel ring with the word Ted engraved on it, and a gold necklace he wore. Also on the table was a gold watch, which his family said was not his. And there was a partially melted candle there, too. He was wearing a velour shirt with lightweight pants, but his shoes could not be found. Very strange, very puzzling. Leon Kennedy is hitting the hay. I will sleep for you, Leon. Thank you as always. All right. Here's some real puzzling stuff about. Here, by the way, is some pictures of some of those searchers when they found these gentlemen. Most puzzling to the investigators at the time and to anyone who's followed this case to this day. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, please, please, please. It's free. It only costs you a click, and it really helps our show with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. We have super chats. We have memberships, which we really appreciate. Also, there's the PayPal, where you give the most, I get the most, Google gets nothing. And then the Tom Gulley Show store with merch and lots of other things. Friday, today, in my merchandise store, everything is half off on Cafe Press. 50% off the whole shooting match. At least that's what the email they sent me told me. Make sure on checkout that they discount you by half if you want to buy some stuff. TomGulleyShow.com. You can get to the store from there, or it's in the description of this show on YouTube. I almost forgot to mention that. Here's a bunch of really crazy, puzzling things about Ted Weyer and how he was found. The fireplace in the trailer hadn't been used. And there was a lot of matches and paperback novels for kindling and other things. Heavy forestry clothing, which could have kept not just Ted, but all of these men warm right where it was stored, not even touched. There were a dozen sea ration cans from a storage shed outside that had been opened and their contents consumed. All right? But a locker in that same shed held enough dehydrated food to keep all 5 of these guys fed for an entire year. None of them were opened. None. Another shed nearby held a butane tank with a valve that had they opened that valve, it would have fed the trailer's heating system. A lot of crazy stuff. However, Ted Weyer's family, this is Bill Sterling's mother, by the way, during the search, I believe. It's pretty sure that's his mom. It's a mom. Ted Weyer's family said that he lacked common sense as a result of his cognitive disability. He was not stupid, but he did not have common sense. For example, he often asked why it was necessary to stop at a stop sign. Common sense. One night, he had to be dragged out of bed while the ceiling of his bedroom was burning in a house fire because he was afraid if he didn't get enough sleep, he would miss his job the next morning. It also appears that Weyer had not been alone in the trailer and that Matthias had also been there. Matthias's tennis shoes were in the trailer, and the sea rations had been opened with a P38 can opener. Okay? If you guys remember, it was that little piece of steel with the swivelly little hook piece of metal on it. They used to give them out in Cracker Jacks and stuff. You turn the metal sideways and then you can use it as a can opener. Very rudimentary. And only Matthias or Madruga, due to their military service, would have been familiar with that kind of can opener. Matthias, his feet perhaps also swollen from frostbite, could have decided to put Weyer's shoes on instead if he went outside. The sheets covering Weyer's body also suggested that one of the others had been there with him. His feet were so gangrenous, they would have caused too much pain for him to pull them up the sheets over his body as well. So, after it was determined that 4 of the 5 men had died in the Sierras, investigators still had no explanation as to why they were there. Although they learned that Matthias had friends in the small town of Forbestown nearby, police believed it was possible that in an attempt to visit them on the way back home, they may have taken a wrong turn near Orville that put them on that mountain road. So that may have been the way they got there. That doesn't explain anything else, but for whatever reason, they left the car instead of going back the way they came, where they had passed that lodge that Shones later walked down to, the guy that saw him, the heart attack guy. They chose to continue along the road in the direction they were originally heading. The day before these guys went missing, United States Forest Service snowcat had gone along the road in that direction to clear snow off of the roof of that trailer, okay, so it wouldn't collapse. A lot of snow, I'm telling you. It was possible, according to the police, that the group had decided to follow the tracks that snowcat left, thinking, oh, there's tracks here, this is a way to get through, though snowdrifts 4 to 6 feet high were part of that scene. But they may have gone that way in the belief that shelter was very close. Most likely, Madruga and Sterling died of hypothermia about halfway through the long walk to the trailer, and Hewitt passed away soon after. It's assumed that once they found the trailer, the other two broke that window to get in. Since it was locked, they may have feared arrest for burglary or theft if they used anything they found there, not realizing that the Forest Service, you know, if you're on the edge of death, the Forest Service would be quite happy for you to get into their trailer and survive. After Weyer died, or after Matthias thought that he had died, he may have decided to get back to civilization by different ways, such as walking overland, or who knows what. He's never been found. Why did they go there? Where did they go afterwards? Were there other people there? A woman with a baby, a pickup truck? Did they indeed go into town and make calls? We don't know. We likely never will know. What made them make the decisions they were making from the time they got off the road and took that wrong turn 70 miles up into the mountains? That, sadly, is all I can tell you about a mystery that may never be solved, the Yuba County Five. Now to your comments, your commentary. I'm Sky says, I wish I could sleep, but I still have 2 hours of work left. Dying from a wrong turn. Sounds like Cali. Having lived in remote Utah, people come out there, they go to a national park, they go on a trail. If it's an established, well-traveled trail, you got no problems. It's probably pretty safe. Probably pretty easy. Yeah, you might get sweaty. It might be a long walk, but there'll be lots of people on it. But people come there during other portions of the year, and even during the tourist season, and they go off-road. They don't tell anybody where they're going. They don't take enough water. They don't have a GPS. They think their cell phone's good anywhere. And man, you would not believe the situations people get themselves into. At most national parks, and I know there's even an app now, you can leave something as simple as a 3x5 card pinned to a bulletin board at the start of a trail or an entrance and say, my name's Tom Gulley. My phone number is 555-555-5555. I am heading southwest into this canyon. I will camp overnight, and I should return on the morning of bam. If 2 days later, and then you're supposed to take it down when you're done. If 2 days later, nobody's contacted and you haven't left word with anyone, and a family member calls the local park service and says, hey, this guy went here. If they don't have that, they don't know where you went. They don't know when you're coming back. If the park service goes out and sees, oh, he says he's not going to be back for another day, they might go check on you even. It's just pretty amazing. Pretty amazing what happens. Counter 1337 says, good evening, Gully Heads. I'll try that. That face looks familiar to me. The name isn't, but the face is. The face is really familiar. By the way, I enjoyed the festive. Is that like a circus carnival barker or something, or just a fancy British guy on a fox hunt? Can't tell. As always, the link to this show is pinned at the top. People never use it. Well, one time it got used. People that are random people. Scott from Australia has used it. Jesse Piez has used it. But that's all. Is that some kind of Jewish hat, Tom? No. Counter? It is not at all. Nasser? But thank you for asking. Thank you very much for asking. I appreciate that. And hopefully all of you have enjoyed the lustrous audio of our songs and other things. I'll use the link someday when I'm not at work. I understand completely. Oh, hopefully everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I had a spectacular Thanksgiving. Went to the home of some friends, and my friend's wife, Andy, it's short for Andrea, did her usual 2 or 3 days of prep before the big event. There were, it was about 15 people there. Closer to 20. And everything was delicious. There was festivities. The Cowboys won. A lot of people were happy about that. Oh, he's Willie McDuff. I'm Willie McDuff. I'm Willie McDuff. I'm in charge of this railroad. Anyway. But the thing I would like to stress more than anything is that Andy made green bean casserole. She normally makes the green bean casserole, and it's amazing. But this year, the green bean casserole was loaded, and I think this is a game changer. Loaded with cheese. Come on. Come on. I'm Sky. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Says happy Thanksgiving, Tom. Thanks for another great show. Thank you for being here, Sky. Appreciate that. Always good to see you. Always good to also see a donation to the show, which was rare, but warmly appreciated. Let's see. Intelligent Counterspell says, sup, gents. I don't like this new Facebook. I mean, maybe there's a way I can change it in my controls and stuff, but I don't like the new, I'm going to have to look into it. I don't like the new, not just your screen name. it gets down to that at name, which I don't appreciate that. Mine is at Tom Gulley Show. So when I go on places, it's the same as normal, really. But some people have a different one. So Intelligent Counterspell 16, if you have a different name, just let me know what it is, and I will address you accordingly with your hoodie and your ball cap and your goat. So Sky is happy to be here. H2BH. Right, I noticed that. I know it's a lot of hooey. I'll look into that. I might do another. Oh, Jared says never knew this story, Tom. Good show. Yes, Jared. It's perplexed me. On the subject of shows, next week on the Tom Gulley Show, Monday show will be SNH Green Stamps. Tuesday will be legendary exploitation movie director William Castle. Wednesday will be the Sunshine Skyway Bridge collapse. And Thursday, a week from yesterday, the still mystifying disappearance of Lauren Spirer, a college student who they have on video walking down the street, disappeared without a trace to this day. Oh, wait. It's Intelligent Counterspell. That's it. Must be someone else had my name. No. I just thought your name might be, Spiffy Gonzalez or something, and that's the other name. If it's Intelligent Counterspell, it's Intelligent Counterspell. It's fine with me. That was a cool Mercury card, too. They don't make them like they used to. No, they don't. There it is, just for you, Jared. All steel. I don't like it either, Tom Gulley. I know. FYI, Shaman live at 9 my time. Who's Shaman? I don't understand that. Is that the guy that says he's the best ever and then he plays audio clips for 4 straight days that the audience can't hear and wants to be taken seriously? Says he's so much better at this than anybody. Okay, that guy? All right. LOL. Yeah. Who cares? I don't need to watch that. That show's got a limited shelf life because he's going to be back in a facility. It's just a matter of time. Just wait around a little, and he's back in the Hooskow. Yeah, he's the guy that plays only clips with no audio and does like a 2-hour show just responding to things that no one else can hear, which is just preparing him for his future career, walking down the street, talking to himself on the way to his cardboard box home in the alley. He's going to be back on it. Well, I'm sure he's got more problems than that. My biggest fear is he's going to crash his car into 3 more people. That's my biggest fear. It would seem to me to be an ill-advised idea to have a show where you, based on your thimble of knowledge, information, and intellect, make fun of other shows when you are literally in a halfway house with your job cut down to part-time, having within the last year totaled 4 cars in a car accident. Do I need to go down the list any further than that? I mean, I would take a little time for self-reflection and say, maybe I'm not a good source of advice giving for other people. And maybe my perceptions of the world, based on how I interact with it, are not very clear. But you really can't pick what time your delusion begins and ends. So, yes, that's Eastern time, 8 o'clock Eastern, also known as real time. It's just the time where you're at. CST, Master Race. They're all fine time zones. We can pick something better to fight about. you know, the East Coast got New York, Central's got Dallas and Chicago. The mountain region only really has Salt Lake. I know maybe that's Denver too. I don't know. And then the West Coast has Frisco and Portland and L.A. I love L.A. All right. With all that being said, one more time, S&H Green Stamps Monday, Tuesday, legendary exploitation director William Castle. Wednesday, the Sunshine Skyway bridge collapse down there in the Tampa, Florida area. And Thursday, the disappearance of Lauren Spirer, which goes on to this day. Fully Yorked time is superior. Sorry. Yeah, okay. It's the most overhyped city in the world. I've been there. I don't know about you. I like cities where I don't have to step over bum dung. Just me. A real New Yorker. Everybody, oh, you don't do it here. You ain't do it nowhere. Well, then explain the Jets and the Giants to me sometime. All right. With all that stuff being said, I'm looking at that old clock. Oh, by the way, the show where the guy can't play the audio, you notice that he says, next time, we'll see you next time, or till next time? Who says that? Who's been saying that for 30 years? You're right. NYC sucks now. I miss the Rudy Giuliani days. Or what about the 70s and 80s, Jared, when it was like kind of scary. Anyway, that old clock on the wall. By the way, clocks, Tom Gulley Show clocks, 50% off on the merch store. Just go down in the description, or it's there in the begging bar, which I'm going to take off of here because nobody's going to give anything else for the rest of the show. Sleva was your last link to the old NYC, and you denied him because he won't quit wearing that hat. I think if you quit wearing that hat, you get a lot more votes. That's just my opinion. And didn't he lose his hot wife? What happened to the hot wife? JC says in the 80s you could get anything in Times Square. Anything. Yeah, I know. It was... anyway. That old clock on the wall, Tom Gulley Show merch store, it's in the description. It was going to the PayPal and that. Says that, well, like the Reverend Al Green, it's time for me to get up on out of here. You do not have to go home, but you can't stay here. And I've got a super cool song, the cool song that we all love, coming right up. So I guess I'll just say, till next time. Might do another show this weekend, by the way, a special pop-up show. We'll see you next time.
When the daylight's fading and the world feels wrong, there's a voice on the airwaves, steady and strong. From the heart of the internet's wild frontier, Tom Gulley's talking, pull up a chair. He's got stories, he's got takes, he's got calls rolling in. From the tales of the weird to the shape of the spin. If you're tired of the noise and the nonsense online, there's a seat in the Gullyverse. Come take your time. The show must go on. The show must go on. With the mic burning bright through the dust to the dawn. Yeah, whatever goes wrong, the Tom Gulley Show lives on. The show must go on. He's the radio outlaw with a charm so sly, a storyteller's cadence and a wink in his eye. From the ghosts in the attic to the news of the day, Tom breaks it all down in his signature way. He's the king of the ramble, the lord of the yarn. He'll take you from evening straight through the dawn, with callers so strange you'd swear they're a bit. But Tom never wavers, he just rolls with it. The show must go on. The show must go on. With the mic burning bright through the dust to the dawn. Yeah, whatever goes That's the show.